Who watches The Watchmen? Should be you. Hello the YouTubes, Ash back once again, this time with the first in a new series of retro reviews. Somebody over on Facebook asked me to review Watchmen, and seeing as this is quite a significant film for me, I thought why the hell not? Watchmen came out in 2009 and is directed by Zack Snyder, who's since in charge of the new Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman movies. It's based on the graphic novel of the same name. It's one of the rare occasions where I actually read the source material before I saw the movie, and did it stack up? You goddamn right it did. The film stars Jackie Earle Haley, Malin Ackerman, Matthew Goode, Patrick Wilson and Billy Crudup. None of these guys, especially in 2009, were household names, so I think that really went in the film's favour. They didn't have any massive star power, there wasn't somebody for you to focus your attention on. Because Watchmen really is a character piece, and if he had like a big name star, that would detract from the character because you'll be watching just for that actor. So I think Zack Snyder did a really good job in casting this. The film's set in an alternative 1985 in America where Nixon has just been installed for a third term. Masked vigilantes were running riots in the streets until Nixon put a stop to it, but then one of these vigilantes got brutally murdered in his own home, which brought the others out of retirement and set them about on an investigation to find out what happened. The investigation leads them down some very dodgy roads and exposes a much wider, horrific plan. When I put on Facebook this morning that I was watching this, I watched it again this morning to be ready for this review, somebody commented saying it was boring. Now, it's not boring, but it is 2 hours 45 minutes long, and it is quite a complex story in terms of how many characters are involved, overarching storylines and a jumpy timeline as well, so you do need to pay attention. So I suppose in that respect you could be mistaken for thinking it's boring. Also, given that it has a sort of a superhero premise, there's not a lot of action in it, but when there is, it's fantastic. It's just there's a lot of story in between. Now, as I said at the start of this review, Watchmen is quite a significant movie for me, because when I came out of the cinema the first time I saw this, I knew that I needed a Blu-ray player before this thing came out on home release. It's one of those films that has to be owned in high definition because it's so beautifully shot. It was sort of the pioneer for the old slow down, slow motion and speed up again thing, and it's not used as a gimmick so much like apparently it is in the latest Hercules movie, not the one with The Rock, the Kellen Lutz one, but it's more used to illustrate how Zack Snyder's trying to film this comic book as true to the pages of the graphic novel as he possibly could. So you'll get like a slowed down shot where it holds on something which is exactly the same as one of the panels from the graphic novel, and I loved that. And to be honest, as far as look and dialogue goes, this is possibly one of the most faithful comic book adaptations you're likely to ever see. Granted, they've changed the end completely, but that was because the end in the graphic novel didn't really lend itself to a cinematic feel, so they changed it for that reason only. And to be quite honest, I prefer the ending in the movie than I do the one in the comic books. My personal opinion, I know a lot of people don't agree. Watchmen really was the film that put Zack Snyder on the map as far as I'm concerned. I know 300 was a big success and a lot of people liked that, and it was good at the time, but if you watch it now it's pretty shallow. In fact, it's pretty bad. Whereas, like I say, I just watched Watchmen again this morning and it still holds up. It's still, everything about it's still absolutely top class. The performances are all brilliant, despite the fact that, like I say, they're not really known actors in terms of massive star power. The story is complex, it does weave in and out of different plot lines, but it's never too much that you lose interest, and I think striking that balance is something that Zack Snyder doesn't get a lot of credit for. Everyone knows he's a visual director, but they always say that he can't really tell a story. Well, watch this and tell me you can't tell a story. The soundtrack is amazing. It's full of like things like Bob Dylan, and I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan, but the song that plays over the opening credits, it fits perfect. The director does a bang-up job. The effects are fantastic. They still hold up, even though that's like 5 years old. I've seen films in the last 5 years that don't come close to this. I think if I was to pick any negative at all, and I would be nitpicking here, it is the runtime. At the same time, I can see why it takes 2 hours 45 minutes to tell this story. The reason it took so long for this film to be made was because people had tried and just said it was unfilmable. Well, Zack Snyder's managed it. Okay, he made quite a lengthy film, but if you're invested in the story and you're invested in the characters, the runtime shouldn't matter, and it doesn't to me. But I can see how it would put people off, so for that I'll give a slight negative. But as I said, that's nitpicking, and it's not something that really applies to me personally. So have you seen Watchmen yet? And if not, why not? And if you have, did you enjoy it as much as I did? Comment below, let me know. And as usual, if you like this video, leave a like below, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, tell your family, don't tell me mum, and I will see you next time.